From the liberal Northeast comes a lone voice of truth. Honest commentary in dishonest times. Think deeper with Juan Newsom. This is the Cure Radio Program. This is the Cure.
Hello. Thanks for tuning in to The Cure. I'm your host, Juan Newsom. Today we have a special guest, Mr. Alex Veras. He is from Massachusetts. He is a campaign and political guru. He is part of the Massachusetts Republican Minority Coalition. And he is very much in tune with what's going on, not only there, but around the country. Alex, I just want to welcome you today. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me on.
Did I intro you right?
Yes, you did.
Thanks for coming on, man. First, let me just ask you, man, because I'm starting to get nervous. What is going on with some of these congressional and Senate seat races, man? You got,
I think Tom Tillis in North Carolina is about to be saved because his opponent caught sexting a veteran's wife, and North Carolina having a lot of veterans, Marine Corps, Army, taking airborne. It is the home of the 1st Marine Expeditionary Force. You know, going to be a lot of guys going to be like, yeah, I'm not voting for a guy who's, we don't know if he was cheating, but, you know, as we use the term, Jody. That's, you know, that's the guy that, you know, when you're deployed, is back home cheating on your girl behind your back.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't see too many soldiers, active duty, retired, going to be voting for Jody, as in Chamberlain there, who's was up, but I believe is going to be down by the end of the week. So, yeah, Jody's not getting too many votes.
Wow. Tillis has COVID-19, right?
Johnson, Tom Tillis.
Yeah.
All of a sudden of COVID-19.
Mike Lee.
I think that this, you know, very people want to say, I think this was I think the Chinese did something, you know. Trump is closing down, getting close in the polls. Bang, 4 weeks out, like you got to be, you know, because you got to self-quarantine. I think the Chinese planned this. I think they're very devious, duplicitous. The government, that is, not the people. So I think that's what happened right now is that they planned this. They planted a COVID bomb. You know, somebody in there was a spreader.
Yeah. That's crazy, man. That is crazy. What about Arizona? You have Martha McSally going up against Kelly. And right now the polling has them, you know, Mark Kelly a little bit ahead there.
It just proves that Martha McSally should have never been given a Senate seat.
Yeah.
Far better candidates that could have been put in. You know, it's just, you know, she didn't seal the deal the last time, regardless whether that election was stolen or not, because Arizona is a Republican state.
Yeah.
She's just a lousy candidate.
Yeah, Kelly Ward, I thought would have been Dr. Kelly Ward. I thought would have been a much better senator. Even though Martha McSally does have a military service record and some good private sector experience, I thought that Kelly Ward, I believe that Kelly Ward would have resonate with the voters a little bit more, and she would have had a stronger push for re-election.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, you know, I hope that the Dems don't flip the Senate, man. I mean, if they flip the Senate, I don't think they will. You know, they're saying Mitch McConnell has a tight race going on in Kentucky right now.
Yeah, I've seen polls where he's 20 points up. Yeah, she's out raising him, but Mitch McConnell always has a fight. But I'm hearing he's 20 points up. I don't see that happening. Plus the fact I think the rioting in Louisville helped him more than anything.
Yeah. I think so too. I think Mitch McConnell, a lot of people don't know, man. Mitch McConnell, he is the Don Corleone of Kentucky, man. This guy is very powerful, very influential, not only in Washington, D.C., but just in Kentucky in general. Yeah. And you better believe if they're saying he's 20 points behind, they're going to pull out all stops to get this guy reelected.
He's going to win. He'll win by 5-6 points, but I just don't see him losing. It's he's one of the few Republican senators that takes an active interest in the state party and growing the state party at the local level. One of the last that's how I do that was Alphonse D'Amato. They called him Senator Pothole because literally, if you wanted a pothole fix, yeah, you call Alphonse's office, not your local elected official. But he did take, he was the guy that recruited George Pataki. That's proven that you could beat somebody with a nobody. At that time, nobody knew who the heck George Pataki was. He was an obscure, upstate senator in New York. Nobody knew who he was, and he beat Como. Because this guy, he knew who the players were. He knows what to do. But you have a lot of guys that are senators that just, they're not really involved. It's about them. But
Yeah.
you have very, very seldom do you see a U.S. senator take an active interest in growing the party. I like to see more of that, but that's not for me to decide those things.
Yeah, that's why he's been there so long. That's why Matt Bevin couldn't unseat him back in 2012. Susan Collins, what do you think about Susan Collins? You think she'll make it?
I think she's done because Maine is crazy. I mean, I live in New England. I live 30 minutes from Maine. Guarantee it's the southern part of Maine. The northern part of Maine tends to be more conservative, but the population's down in the southern part.
Yeah.
And the person she's running against, I'm trying to think of the House Speaker's name. Name escapes me. That's how much I find that race irrelevant. I don't even know the other candidate's name. But Sue Collins, I mean, Maine is just too many New Yorkers, too many nuts. As we call them here, ultra liberals, moonbats, have moved to Maine. It's they decided to make Maine home. It's not the state that I knew as a kid growing up. I mean, I just being Latino, I probably didn't fit in because of the skin color thing, but at least I knew there were some Republicans in that state. But now I really don't fit in. Who the hell are these people? It's changed. It's changing for the worse. It's not a state with a lot of industry. The paper industry, the light manufacturing. It's gone. So you have people that have no sense of reality, no sense of how to establish a business community. Wrong state. Money's got to come from somewhere. Jobs aren't created in a vacuum. And they talk about jobs, but they're so anti-business. I mean, I know former Governor Paul LePage is launching a comeback. He's going to run for governor in 2022. God bless him. I hope he can accomplish something. But how much damage, how many people that would vote for Governor LePage are gone, have left the state because the current governor, McNeil, is just a whack job.
Tommy Tuberville in Alabama, running against Doug Jones. You think Tuberville can unseat Jones?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean,
his popularity
in the state of Alabama, it's going to be a 10, 15-point victory. He's going to win, Tuberville. Plus, he's a former college coach. How many homes of the people that he's been in that could say, yeah, Tommy Tuberville recruited my son or sat in my house.
Yep. Yeah.
Can't say the other thing about his opponent.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so too. I think had Roy Moore was a disaster 6 years ago. 4 years ago. I think and he didn't do a lot of campaigning either. It was really the courageous conservatives pack who really stood up to the negative attacks that Roy Moore Judge Roy Moore was being hit by. But in terms of his campaign, they really just fumbled the football in terms of campaign. And I think I can see Tuberville winning. Like you said, he's a hero. He's a local hero. I think, Doug Jones, it's not like he crossed the aisle anyway. And, that was, for a long time, the seat that Jeff Sessions sat in. So I think the voters in Alabama might have had their fill of Doug Jones there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. What about Lindsey? You think Lindsey is safe? Supposedly he's been outraged too. Where in the hell are the Democrats getting all this money from?
That's a good question. I think Lindsey will pull it out, probably a 5-point victory. It's going to be tough for him.
Yep.
I
John
mean,
Cornyn is also um, Cornyn as well. He's running.
he'll win. He'll get 45% of the Hispanic vote in Texas.
Mm.
He works that. I give him credit. He does work that vote.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, yeah. Even though I disagree with Cornyn on a lot, he does. He pulls out his victories.
I'm not, I think that polling, again, is not what it's up, is not what it is.
Mm-hmm.
That's just me saying that. I don't think polling is what it is. I think, you're probably going to see the same thing as what happened 4 years ago. Because you
Mm-hmm.
simply, and I've seen where people just do not want to give pollsters information.
Mm-hmm.
Even the pollsters are saying, yeah, it's a tough time doing this. People don't want to talk to us. Gee, you figure? You know,
Mm-hmm.
and again, the same thing. Uh, when the president was having rallies, people were showing up. Guaranteed, 1,000, 3,000, not the 20,000 that would show up. But the numbers. The media, the news media has come to the point where they're losing credibility, and they'll lose more credibility even after this election, because people no longer rely on them. People don't listen to them. Hell, I don't. I start off reading conservative British papers in the morning, before I read anything American. You want to find out what's happening in your country? Get a British paper. Go online.
That's true. Excuse me. The Daily Mail is like one of my. I mean, I like a few papers, but the news media here is pretty much a joke. Do you worry about the seats? One more thing about the election, and then we can move on. Do you worry about the seats where there's Republican incumbents that are not running for reelection? Like you have Lamar Alexander in Tennessee, you have Mike Enzi in Wyoming. You also have there's one more, Pat Roberts, in Kansas.
I think the Kansas seat will win that. Kansas hasn't elected a Republican and God knows how long.
Mm-hmm.
It's a conservative state. When was the last time a Democrat held anything there?
Mm-hmm.
Tennessee again is a thorough Republican state from
Mm-hmm.
top to bottom. I think we'll keep those seats. Yeah,
Mm-hmm. And
uh,
Wyoming as well, Mike Enzi.
Wyoming will keep that. I think the last time I had a Democrat elected statewide was a governor like
Mm-hmm.
10 years ago. So, those upper North Midwest states, we'll do that. We'll hold our own there. It's just that the media. I hate to say this, but the average American's an idiot.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
really hate to say it. I mean, that's why I don't talk politics. If you notice on Facebook, I post more about food or going to a restaurant. Because I can't stand people that go on. Well, I feel that's nice. You feel something, but you need to think.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Are not capable of thinking. They talk about, in the perfect example, they talk about, well, Trump is this, he's a Nazi, he's a Hitler. I go, when you go home, do you wake up the next day? Yeah, then he's not a,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
you know,
Mm-hmm. I
people
don't.
make, people
I
make
don't
these.
really. I don't understand that comparison. I mean, you look at a guy like Trump. Trump has been probably the least powerful president in terms of influence within DC. In the last 50 or so years. He definitely, and it's by choice. He definitely respects. One thing I like about Trump is he respect the idea of federalism. If you look at how he's handled the pandemic, he's totally left it up to the governors for the lockdown. He gave them assistance where they needed in terms of the ventilators and personnel, and they built hospitals in New York and places. um he definitely, I felt he gave enough support. I mean, he shut down the country in terms of flights coming in from Europe and from Asia and so forth, but he respected the boundaries between the federal government and the state governments. And I don't see this dictatorship. Now, if he done what the prescribed the prescribed methods that Joe Biden is prescribing. Like Biden wants a national lockdown. He wants a mandate on face masks. If he done things like that and locked the country down from the federal government, there would have been lawsuits from the states. They really would have had reason to call him a dictator then. But these are things that is merely suggesting. And Trump has done none of that. I mean, he's been, like I said, the least powerful president, I would say.
You know that as a person whose roots are in the third world, and I hear white suburbanites talk about that he's a dictator. They probably haven't seen the videos that probably you and I have seen, newscasts from Venezuela.
Oh man! Oh my God!
Where people are shot.
Oh my God!
And shot in the back and shot again. That's what a dictator does. If he was a dictator, these riots that happened in New York, Boston, the nightly riots in Seattle, you would have had the National Guard and the police line up and fire at will. And people would have been killed. And they would have gone and shot the people down on the ground who were wounded. People talk a lot of smack. Really haven't traveled as much as I have, or gone and seen things, or have the background that I have, the family background, or maybe grew up in a real diverse neighborhood. You have a lot of whites that talk smack, that live in their pretty little suburbs, that have no idea what reality is. It's he's a Nazi, he's a dictator. Okay, so his favorite child, who we all know, is not the one named Junior. Is Ivanka, is married to a Jew, converted to Judaism, and moved the embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. How is that a man anti-Semitic?
Yeah, he's got half Jewish grandkids. He have half Latino grandkids. I mean, I don't. Some of the things that they call President Trump and they accuse him of, they just don't apply at all. They call him a racist. I've seen. I mean, if you look at his administration, just look at his administration. One of the most diverse administrations in the history. I mean, you have, blacks, Latinos, people from all walks of life. You have he's empowered a lot of women. There's a lot of women amongst the leadership in his cabinet. I mean, you look at things like that, and there's just a total disconnect between the left, what they accuse him of, and what's actually being done with this president.
Yeah, it's just how they throw things out and how a lot of people buy it because they don't think. Because a lot of people have lost the ability to think for themselves. When more people vote, on American Idol than go out and vote, the country has issues. When people don't remember the past, because literally, as part of the leftist movement is to destroy the past, because the past was, you cannot judge General Robert E. Lee by our standards.
Yep.
You cannot judge the Confederacy or those things by our standards. It was a war, yes. One side wanted to keep slavery, the other, you know what? Slavery wasn't even an issue. You still would have had a civil war because it would have been about what turn or what type of government we're going to have. One that's interventionist, that is involved in using the public money to build a canal system, a railroad system, or just a laissez-faire attitude that the Southerners have. What government should. It was an economic war. Slavery was just used towards the end by Lincoln to say, yeah, we need something to rally around. Let's use slavery. Let's have the Emancipation Proclamation. Let's declare that, because Union generals weren't, a couple of them were freeing people, but were told, yeah, you don't have that authority. So, this BS that's now taught kids that it was a war about to end slavery. No, it wasn't about that. It's also the same BS that people talk about Mother Rosa Parks. She was told to sit in the back of the bus. No, she was already sitting in the back of the bus. She was asked to give up her seat. It's amazing how history is being destroyed in front of us. And it's going to impact because we're going to elect an idiot from the liberal side. Well, Joe Biden is an idiot. And I'm not going to apologize, but we're going to elect really an idiot that has no sense of what American history is. It's going to be a dictator, and that's going to come from the political left, because the political left wants to use government. They say, love trumps hate. but I have no problem taking a bat to me and you and some other person.
Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
know, hypocrisy that's shown by the political left in this country is amazing. They are the ones who are burning cities, taking down statues, shooting cops. It's them. It's not us. On
Mm-hmm.
the side, because if we on the right really, really wanted to end this, believe me, it would end.
Mm-hmm.
Trust me, it would end because the guns and the training are on our side, not theirs.
Yep. Yep. Folks, this is Juan Newsom with The Cure. If you're just joining us, folks, we are talking about the goals and the methods of the political left. We just gave you a breakdown on the upcoming Senate races. Um, if you want to share your opinion, hit us up on Facebook, Twitter. We're right there. Look for us. The Cure with Juan Newsom. Catch us on all social media. So, Alice, going back to that thought, um, because when you look at somebody like an Adolf Hitler, and they often accuse Adolf Hitler of being a right winger, which I think is totally bull BS. Especially when you look at the rise of the Nazi Party and how they infiltrated the government and some of the things that they stood for. They weren't. I don't think they were as. I think they were more radical than the left that we're facing, just because of some of the things that they've done. But just the left, the debauchery of today, um, the things that they stand for, the things that they put out there, how they want to infiltrate, the minds of our children, taking their agenda to the school curriculums, at such an early age, whether it be the LGBT agenda, whether it's the 1619 project, things like that. What do you think about the left? I know you said you think the left, that communism, socialism would come from the left. But what do you think about the left today? Are they going to destroy the party, which is the mechanism of them obtaining power, or
The fact that they want to destroy the black family even more by destroying "quote unquote" the patriarchy.
yep,
Yeah, that has worked wonders. The destruction of the black family since the rise of the welfare state. Go to Chicago. You know, every
mm-hmm,
weekend shootout at the OK Corral in Chicago. You
mm-hmm,
know, where prior to Lyndon Baines Johnson, the war on poverty, what 7% of black kids were were born in a fatherless situation. Now it's what 77, 80%.
mm-hmm,
And you clearly see it in the streets of inner city America. You clearly hear it in rap music, where
mm-hmm,
what women are called and what they glorify and sing about. You
yep,
see it in the education system.
definitely the culture, yep,
You know, people talk about a movie like The Color Purple. Oh, it was this. It was anti-black, but those were black middle class families in that movie.
yep,
Guaranteed, they lived in a Jim Crow era,
yeah,
right? But you had mothers and fathers. Yeah, okay, yeah. The main character was raped by a father. Okay, I'll concede that. But those were black middle class.
yeah,
You
they
know,
were,
you had DeMartha High School, which is a majority black high school in D.C., send out a few kids a year to Harvard. Now, yeah, they're lucky if they can do that.
mm-hmm,
So you're seeing white suburban liberalism destroy the black family, which
yep,
is interesting because when you look at the riots, in particular in Portland, it's white people. It's white people coming in destroying black neighborhoods and businesses,
yep,
blaming it on white conservatives.
yep, exactly. Do you think now the polling with Trump and blacks have went up? If you look at the last year, now he's polling around, according to a few polls, a few reliable polls, um, anywhere from 30 to 38% among African Americans, particularly with men. Do you think that's major or just anecdotal?
We have to see in 4 weeks and 29 days
Mm-hmm.
what the result of that is going to be. I mean, here's a guy who is, like any Republican in my lifetime, has gone out and actually lobbied for the black and Hispanic vote. Unlike the Republican Party in Massachusetts, the state I grew up in. But
Mm-hmm.
here's a president. It's interesting. I have a liberal Republican governor calls Trump a racist, right? But we had an issue at one of our veterans hospitals here, and wanted to throw under the bus his Latino Veterans Affairs Secretary. But when he found out that yours truly, amongst others, were going to go to war with him, basically backed off real quick before he publicly threw this guy under the bus,
Mm-hmm.
because he knew what was going to happen. He wouldn't be able to set foot in half the cities of the Commonwealth.
That was your governor?
That was
Wow.
the governor. We had a problem at a veterans hospital here. He hired the political hack son of a Democrat city councilor and the nephew of a Democrat former district attorney in the western part of the state. Guarantee the guy may have been a decent Marine Corps officer, but had no experience in running a hospital in a medical situation.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. The guy was, I believe, a lieutenant colonel in the Marine Corps. Hired him because he gave him $1,000 check and because his mother endorsed him. His mother, Kateri Walsh, she was a city councilor in the city of Springfield. COVID-19 breaks out, puts people who are infected in the same room as infected as veterans who are not infected. Claims he made phone calls. Close to 80 veterans died. Now he's indicted for manslaughter too. The governor fired him, but the courts reversed that because only the board of trustees of the Holyoke Veterans Hospital could fire him. He quit, and his number two guy also quit also. But this guy was solely hired, was a Democrat, because this governor loves Democrats. Never mind, dark-skinned Republicans like you and I, because
Mm-hmm.
anathema to him because we believe in God.
Yep.
Hired this person solely because mommy was a city councilor in Springfield, and mommy can bring out, quote unquote, the white state employee vote in Springfield,
Mm-hmm.
or city employee vote, who may be, quote unquote, cultural conservative. The last vestiges of Reagan Democrats in Western Mass, which is totally gone moon back. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
the kid going out there, at least, you had some Republicans elected. Now, forget it. It's between, left and left crazy.
Wow.
You have the mayor, Dominic Sarno of Springfield, who I would call something of a Reagan Democrat, somewhat conservative, is under fire by the majority minority city council. They're suing him. We want to do a civilian review board, all the crazy leftist stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and he's like vetoing it, and, they're suing him, taking him to court. This is a situation in Massachusetts right now. I mean, and am I looking to get the hell out? Most likely, probably, because, these people are they're crazy. They really are.
Yeah. I'm with you. I'm trying to earn my coins and find me a greener pasture.
These
Um,
people are nuts. It's, I do say one thing, and I hate to say this, but it has to be said that if this country ever broke out in civil war, the states that are going to get hit hardest are going to be states like Massachusetts, because you have a lot of guys who served, a lot of conservative guys are going to say, hell no. And it's going to
mhm.
be real guerrilla warfare. I never thought growing up that I would say these things,
Mhm.
but we're on the verge here. We are
I,
literally,
I never thought we'd be here either. I always thought that we would have at least, I knew that there were threats, but I never always thought that there would be a civil discourse and, somewhat, but the left has just really gotten radical. Um, I've some of the things that I see are scary. Some of the things that they're very scary. The embracing of socialism, communism. Things like the Green New Deal.
which most I've never read,
Yeah, exactly. Going after the guns,
which I've
like
never read, which call for the banning of internal flights in the U.S. So if you got relatives in Florida, how are you going to see them?
that is ridiculous.
You know, well, if you want to work, we're going to give you a guaranteed minimum wage. But if you don't work, we're still going to give you a guaranteed minimum wage, which would have forced people to change it. Literally at the barrel of a gun, force people to change dietary habits. People haven't read it. And I've read it. I'm like, this is insane.
Yeah.
Oh, and this was a bartender,
Yeah.
Cortez, that came up with. I like my bartender, but my bartender shouldn't be running for office.
Yeah.
My
Yeah.
and this is a person who never had a serious job. And it's like, how does a person like this get elected?
Yeah. She's a flippin' idiot.
I mean, she cost 30,000 jobs, and that's just not just the jobs that Amazon was going to bring, but you would have had
Others. Other
other
small
jobs.
businesses.
Yeah, you would have businesses catering to those people. You would have had the construction of new MTA stations, the extension of part of the subway and stuff like that to Long Island City. You would have had government money invested because this idiot didn't know what a tax break meant. Thought that they were being given so many billions up front and didn't realize that a tax break is so much that you're not going to pay your taxes over the period of over a certain period. But she's an idiot. She is literally an idiot, and Democrats own that, and they're going to own, and they have to own that. It's it's just utterly amazing that as we used to have a talk show host here, David Brudnoy, real good guy. You would have liked him if you had listened to him. He was gay, but he was libertarian,
Yep.
conservative,
Hmm.
and basically said the country is becoming a castocracy, which is Greek for governed by the least capable, and we have the least capable people getting elected.
Ooh, who said that?
David Brudnoy, the late David Brudnoy.
Oh man.
Yeah, I mean, once in a while, a local radio station plays his shows. Guarantee he died well over 15 years ago. He was very prescient in the things he said, and it's just amazing that he was right. That this is what we have: a castocracy, government
Cassacracy.
government by the least capable people. A lot of
Cassacracy.
sense around as Democrats. If when you look at that, a lot. I can't still figure out if you serve in the military, why do you run as a Democrat? When
Mm.
everything that they stand for is contrary to your training and what you were taught. I can't figure out foreign military people. I think a lot of cops have woken up because
Hmm.
they're withdrawing their endorsements from Democratic candidates left and right. A lot of cops have woken up because they're facing the brunt of what is the opening stages of an American Civil War. They're
Yeah.
every night.
Yeah. I think a lot of cops have woken up too. Just even before the defund the police stuff, it's just the attacks. I mean, you take it. I take you back to 2000. Um, take you back to 9/11 when the country was very after the attacks. The country was very much united. There was a whole totally different feeling about our first responders. We respected our first responders. We looked up to our first responders, especially the police and the firefighters. And now here we are, just not only a few years later, and they're being maligned and impugned, for doing their jobs. Basically, yeah, you have a few bad actors, and that happens with pretty much any profession. But now you had Minnesota City Council talking about they wanted to defund the police, and as a result, crime has went up. You have all these other defund the police movements around the country. You have Bill De Blasio in New York defunding, some special units in New York City, the anti-terrorism unit, the special investigations unit in New York City, which would expose the city to terror and other types of attacks. So it's just totally different. I don't really
Just on social
recognize this
workers
place.
to show up. These people. Well, we need to have social workers show up. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, that's going to work well. And the social worker takes out a shotgun and starts blasting the social workers because they haven't been trained. Could the police use more training? Yeah, but you don't send somebody that went to a state college, which are perhaps the worst colleges out there, unless they're like the University of Texas or something of that nature. But somebody who went to in Massachusetts, like Bridgewater State, and had a degree in sociology. Yeah, I don't want that person showing up. No, I
Hmm.
don't want that person, who went to that school. show up in my neighborhood because they're hearing so and so's getting beaten. Yeah, let's go over there. No, I want the guys in blue to show
Mm.
up. The guys with the blue lights on top of their cars. I want those guys to show up because a lot of those cases can easily, as we have seen, get out of hand. So somebody just knows how to talk BS. To
Mm-hmm.
psychologists do. Yeah, those aren't the first people I want to show up. I mean, I'm sorry, but not that I want to malign anybody, but reality. And I look at the neighborhoods I grew up in. I live in a city. Yeah, social workers, no, they're gonna get shot. You know, it,
Sometimes you need the cops to show up, quell a situation, and then that's when social services get assigned. If there's mental health issues or whatever, domestic disputes, all that stuff tend to work itself out anyway. Not that I'm against more funding for those services, but you just can't have social workers dropping by because they don't have any authority to do anything. So they're going to just be sitting there where the cops coming in, you have someone with some type of authority. They can quell and de-escalate with authority. So
and for God's sakes, prosecute bad cops. You know, don't,
exactly.
don't look like this guy in Minnesota. They're 18 years on the force, and literally since his rookie year, several complaints every year. Yeah, you know what? This you may want to take the badge away. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
I think police unions are finally waking up and realizing, yeah, we are part of the. Yeah, this is part of the problem. You know,
Mm-hmm.
don't get me wrong. I believe in unions, but not every member is worth defending.
Yeah.
You know, but these are the things we're looking at. I think you and I talked earlier. All these sisters of Rachel Dolezal and Elizabeth Warren that are out there. That's another thing that amazes me.
Yep.
You know,
Yeah.
you have a professor at GW, Jackie Krug, who grew up Jewish in Kansas City, right?
Mm-hmm.
Identified first as black, then Afro Latina, writes a book about you know growing up black, and then admits, well, I'm not black. And then you have in Indiana, she calls herself Satchel Paige. Satchel must be rolling in his grave
Yep.
right now. The real Satchel Paige. Her name was Jennifer Lynn Benson. Pretended she's black, was a Black Lives Leader organizer, right? Organizer of Community Watch, and a black woman went there like, why is a white woman leading a Black Lives meeting?
What about this dude Sean King from
You know,
isn't he a white guy?
he's you look at this is a guy who, he was my brother, and he talked about my mother like that she slept there, like to sleep on with black men. We'd have a talk, and it'd be one talk and one talk only. You know,
This
they don't
guy
call
is crazy.
Martin Luther King for nothing.
Yep.
It's just these people they have seriously psychological issues.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
People talk about white privilege. It's not white privilege. It's that it's connected people, regardless of what your ethnicity is. If Michael Jordan's kid, if I was white and I had like an $10 million building project in inner city Massachusetts, that I was going to build affordable housing, right? And
Mm-hmm.
Michael Jordan's kid came over, Jordan Jr. Yeah, I'm going to put 50,000. Well, here's your 30% take on that 50,000 on a
Mm-hmm.
$10 million project. Tell
Mm-hmm.
me that doesn't happen. Where has Michael Jordan Jr. faced discrimination?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, growing up privilege.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you know, it or white privilege. Are they people that benefit? Yeah, they benefit because they're connected.
Yep.
They, they tried in one town to hire a kid whose mother was Puerto Rican as a Hispanic on a local fire department until people like, no, we're not having this. No, we don't give a damn who his grandfather is on the department. Guy cannot speak Spanish. No, didn't get hired. Got eventually hired 5, 6 years later down the road because he did the right thing. Yeah, I'm applying as a veteran.
Mm-hmm.
Kid comes up to me, I need your help. I go, first of all, you don't speak Spanish. Don't come up to me. You know, And I set that standard. You wanna act and pretend you're Latino, you better goddamn speak Spanish.
Yeah, yeah.
You want a piece of the pie and claim your piece of the pie because mommy or daddy may have been. Well, you better speak granddad, grandma, and
Mm-hmm.
Spanish. If you don't, get the hell away from me. Because
Mm-hmm.
and I've done it. I'll go up against you publicly. People don't
Mm-hmm.
like that, but you know what? You're gonna claim something. You better be goddamn part of something.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
That's good. Keeping them accountable.
It's
Are
like the actress Jessica Alba that wonders why Hispanics because you haven't done anything.
mm-hmm.
Talk, but you haven't done anything.
Mm-hmm.
It's like was it Julian Castro that runs for president and
Oh my God.
he goes, why don't his because you don't speak Spanish. Because you and your twin brother, if you want to talk about privilege, yeah, you two guys are privileged, more than
I
anybody.
I can't stand Julian Castro and Joaquin because I saw him on MSNBC the other day. I was watching he was up there talking about Trump, and I was watching it actually with my father-in-law. And this guy is just sitting up there talking, and I'm thinking, this dude, here's this dude maligning Trump, and he's been in government practically all of his adult life. I mean, what has he actually done?
That's a problem that, a lot of people have been in government. They don't have any business sense. They have no sense. Jobs are not created in vacuums. They don't know about, investment, about meeting a payroll, they don't know these things.
Hmm.
Uh,
Hmm.
I'm going to be honest, I'm not an expert, but I've worked in the private sector. Guarantee
Yep.
that's a large chunk in the government, but I've worked in the private sector. I know what these things are about. I'm currently working in the private sector. I know what they're talking about what is the bottom line.
Yeah. I think that's a big part of the problem that DC has with Trump. They don't understand real success, and so they're like, okay, let's investigate.
You know, they don't understand these things. They don't understand business. They don't understand how a job is created. A perfect example was a few years ago. Now Blumenthal was asked how do you create a job and couldn't come up with an answer. And Lyndon McMahon came up with an answer. But Northeast liberals, being the idiots that they are, and being part of the Stockholm syndrome, voted him in instead of Lyndon McMahon. Yeah, guarantee. Yeah, her business was WWE, but when I was a kid, WWE was just in the Northeast.
Hmm.
Now it's the biggest wrestling conglomerate on the planet because
Hmm.
they built it. They had a brand name and they built it.
Hmm. Hmm.
But people don't understand these things. It's interesting how a lot of Democrats don't understand the basic concept of, you know,
Economics, business,
don't understand macro and microeconomics. Don't understand these things. For
how the
them,
world works.
you know, always a government solution.
Yeah. But Alex, if you ask your average small business owner or a farmer, I mean, they nails it. They nails it every time. They understand how this country works, man, how this place works. One more question. Last question I have. We were talking about the races earlier. What do you think the likely with all that's given? What's the likely scenario? And I'm talking about the White House, the Senate, the House. Given all that's going on. The mail-in voting, and
Oh, that's going to be a disaster.
it's gonna be a disaster. Right? I
It
think we're gonna end up in the Supreme Court.
of confuse an absentee ballot with a
Hmm.
ballot that's sent to you. I mean,
Hmm.
if I wasn't, if I was a Democrat, I had 5 ballots of people that don't live where I live show up in my mailbox, and my name's clear in my mailbox. You know, if I was some thief Democrat, I would, you know what? Yeah, I'll put these votes in. You know, but me being honest, I just went, took them to City Hall, and I go, y'all need to purge your voting records.
Hmm.
You know, what are you
Yeah.
for? Well, I go, they're not helping me pay the goddamn rent.
Hmm.
I'm the one paying the nut there. They're not helping me.
Yeah.
I don't even know where they. I'm in a 1-bedroom place. I asked the assistant city clerk, where are they sleeping?
Hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
The city clerk went up and like, yeah, you need to shut up. Told the assistant clerk, don't argue the point. Just shut up.
Well, Alex, man, I just want to thank you again, man. We got to have you back soon,
Yeah,
man.
not a problem. But I'm hoping Trump wins. Senate will probably be 52 seats. I think John James will pick up a seat in Michigan.
You think he's going to win that? That's awesome.
I think he's going to win that. I think the House is going to be interesting, but I'm
You
praying.
think you
I'm praying
think
not to
can they
show.
flip the house?
I, I don't know because these fake ballots that are going out there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even think we're going to know what's going to happen on election night. I think we're going to find out. St. Patrick's Day, 2021, who's winning?
Damn, don't say that. I know the Trump campaign had a big victory in Maine as far as the mail-in ballots is concerned, and there's a few other states where they're suing. When you look at the mail-in ballot scenario, because I know there's been, there's not a ton of states that has approved the mail-in ballots, but still, it's enough that it could cause some problems on election day. Um, I think they're gonna have to, the RNC and the Trump campaign are gonna have to do a massive lawsuit, um, and escalate this thing to the Supreme Court if possible. I think they're gonna have that. You know, that would be the best scenario that they could come up with. Um, it's it's a disaster, man. It's just
People need to show up and vote.
get your ass off the seats,
Yeah.
get your ass out of the house, and go vote.
Yeah. If you truly care and love this country, wake the bleep up, get out there and vote on election day.
Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah. So you have automatic mail-in ballots. Let me list these states: California, Nevada, Montana, Vermont, and New Jersey,
Or don't forget Massachusetts now.
and Massachusetts now.
People's Republic.
You have automatic applications in New Mexico, Idaho, North Dakota, South Dakota, Nebraska, Iowa, Wisconsin, Illinois, Michigan, New York, Connecticut, Rhode Island. Let's see here. Who else? West Virginia, Maryland, Delaware. And then the rest of the states seem to be pretty sane. Seem to be at this point. I think it's enough to bring a suit to the Supreme Court and get them to rule on it. You think they're going to be able to confirm this judge?
I think so. I think the votes are there. If you're able to convince an imbecile like Mitt Romney to vote, yeah.
Yeah, Romney. You see they lit some fire under that ass in Utah.
He probably had with some barnyard animals back in the day. I don't know.
I don't know. What the hell wrong with Mitt Romney, man?
They're like, man, you don't vote. These are coming out.
He was your governor.
Oh, he was another idiot.
Yeah.
I'd rather have a Democrat be elected governor of Massachusetts because when they do something and say something stupid, I could just sit back and say, yeah, that's a Democrat.
Yeah.
And you see me attack this governor of Massachusetts to no end.
Mm-hmm.
Enjoy every second of it. And I know, and I hear from people, he's like, he wish he can do something, but the last thing he wants is to take on the most well-known Hispanic Republican in the state. Because he saw what I did to Gabriel Gomez.
Yep.
Who ran. I think you saw what I did to Gabriel Gomez.
Oh, yeah.
And the guy's like, frig this, I'm out of politics. I'm done. This guy, no.
You ready? So you're advising anybody right now?
I was advising one congressional candidate in New Hampshire. Right now, there's a couple people in Florida that, I use Zoom. Didn't get
Mm-hmm.
scheduled tonight, but I used a couple people have advised. I'm just laying the grassroots in Florida because, unfortunately, I did lose my mother, in this pandemic we're in.
Oh man, sorry to hear that, bro.
It's changed a lot of my perspective. So I've not been as active as I would be, but
Mm-hmm.
if anything, I'm doing a little bit more in Florida. Thank God for technology. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm just looking. You know what? I gotta. This state's an insane asylum.
I like Florida too, Alex. I like it down there in Miami. I was down there a couple of months ago, and I have a cousin down there. It was pretty nice.
But
Uh,
but before I get out of Dodge, you got to come up here, take the train.
yeah, man, I gotta come up. I have no excuse. I have plenty of money on my transit. I
Come
have
up
like
here.
$1,000 up there. I need to
We'll
come
do
up
like
there.
things. We'll have an incredible breakfast. Wait a few hours, have an incredible lunch, and top it off with dinner. Probably at an Italian restaurant, some Chinese place. But you got to come up here, show you some historical places. And,
Hmm.
and that's the thing that I grew up here. I love it, but it's just these people are just whacked.
Yeah, man.
They are whacked. When you're going to spend half your time taking on Republicans and not Democrats,
Yeah.
because these Republicans have been taken hostage of Stockholm syndrome, it's just time to go.
That's how Jersey is, bro. That's Jersey to the T. Well, thanks for coming on, man. I really appreciate it. We got to have you back.
Yeah, we got to do
And
the Thanksgiving show.
got to do the Thanksgiving show, but we have to do the show when Trump gets better.
Yep.
So I'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Yep. 4 weeks can count, man.
Okay, man.
All right.
All right. Thanks a lot.
You're welcome. Like always, always a pleasure to be on.
Pleasure to have you.
This is The Cure.